the most important question we can ask about unconscious bias is, what can we do about it? To help us answer this question, let's talk to Dr. Pete Jones. Pete is a chartered psychologist and a chartered scientist who specializes in unconscious bias. Pete is going to share his 10 top tips the research tells us help mitigate the effects of our unconscious bias. The first is to review existing processes and paperwork to build bias out of your people systems. Dr. Jones does comprehensive reviews of recruitment advertising, marketing, staff selection, and performance management systems. Number 2, we know that reacting too quickly or intuitively can lead us to bypass our bias control mechanisms. Taking a few extra seconds to revisit evidence, reflect on the decision, or even get a second opinion can give our bias control a chance to operate. Number 3, extend your networks. Our affinity with people who are like us causes us to cluster with them, share information with them, and learn more about them. By deliberately extending our networks by, for example, accepting invitations to engage with people who are different to us, it can help us ensure our influence is shared more evenly. Number 4, when we overwhelm our bias control with emotion or work, we can trigger biases. Try to avoid triggers by not making important people decisions when very busy, in a rush, stressed, tired, hungry, anxious, or frustrated. Number 5, holding ourselves accountable mitigates against unconscious bias. Asking ourselves if we would have thought the same thing if a person was more or less similar to ourselves can help. Number 6, as biases are developed and reinforced neurologically, we should avoid exposing ourselves to things like jokes and media which reinforce negative ideas. The unconscious does not have a sense of humor and simply wires what it hears or sees. The conscious cannot filter out these negative reinforcements. Number 7, look for good role models. Remind yourself of people you admire from a social group that helps us mitigate bias, and we should try to be good role models ourselves because we can have an influence on the bias of others. Number 8, sometimes people shy away from staff networks, possibly because they don't understand why the network is needed, or because they don't want to be associated with the idea of getting some sort of unfair advantage. In fact, staff networks simply hope to remove barriers, not get ahead unfairly. If we are leaders, then openly supporting staff networks by attending ourselves, encouraging others to attend, or supporting staff who want to go are all good ways of having a wider positive impact on unconscious bias. Number 9, get bias tested. Pete developed and now recommends a test called Implicitly, published by a company called Hogref, because the test is linked to real-world behavior and provides support for test takers. There are a wide range of tests for unconscious bias, over 100 at the last count. And finally, number 10, raising awareness and then applying what the research tells us about unconscious bias to our workplace helps us mitigate bias. We know that unconscious bias affects how we develop products, serve our customers, carrying out marketing, advertise, recruit, manage staff, and judge performance. So a wide range of people can benefit from training. Dr. Pete gives conference sessions, runs a range of workshops, carries out bias testing, and does other research. So, why call Dr. Pete rather than anybody else? Firstly, his style is non-blaming and strongly scientifically led. Political correctness forms no part of his approach. Remember, Pete is a chartered psychologist and a chartered scientist who specializes in unconscious bias. Secondly, most of the consultants you may find now offering unconscious bias interventions are not psychologists, are not specialists in the field, no matter what they may say. Dr. Pete has a deep and extensive understanding of conscious bias from over 12 years of full-time research and consultancy. Most of the consultants now offering training attended his sessions. Go on, ask them. Dr. Pete is used to challenging and intellectually curious audiences. He has all of the key research to hand and can talk around the subject with authority and from the scientific evidence base. Importantly, he has a focus on getting people to identify actions to mitigate bias and carrying that through at work. You can contact Dr. Pete by email, phone, and even by Twitter.